introduce Dr. Beth Collins and Dr. John Lee Antonio, both from the Jefferson Department of Family and Community Medicine, who are going to be leading us through today's session. So please give them a nice welcome.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to kind of start this new year of our series. It's been a pleasure to talk with everyone so far. I think I'm going to stand a little off to the side here for the camera. So today's topic, we're going to be talking, it's going to be divided in two. First, we're going to cover exercise and generally kind of what are some guidelines about being active in your older adulthood. And then finally, we'll talk about nutrition as well. I want this to be interactive, so stop me at any point with your questions, concerns, comments, personal experiences, whatever you'd like to share, okay? But before we get started on too much, I have a workout for us. So we'll see how this goes, but I'd like everybody to stand up. Okay, and so we're gonna start off, and we're gonna does anybody want to play some music? I don't know, anything. Okay. You're going to play some music for us, Dr. Reeves? Okay.
Yes.
Yes. It's a good one.
When you get a request, that's easy.
I know. I was hoping somebody would have a request because I have my workout songs. Okay. Ready? Let's march in place. You can put a little hip into it. Okay. All right. Now, I want everybody to try to find a wall space. So we can spread out, find a wall. It can be somewhere that you can touch the wall. Okay. And then I want you to stand about 2 or 3 feet away from the wall. Here, I'm going to demonstrate. Yeah. Dr. Lee Antonio is going to demonstrate. And then, yeah. And then we're going to do an easy wall push-up, okay? So put your hands against the wall, okay? And then just like you're doing a push-up on the floor, go down, hold it, and then back up. Okay, let's try to do it about 10 times, or as many times as you can. 5 times works too. It's about getting active. Okay, and now can everybody have a seat again? We're gonna do some stuff in our seats. Okay, so this is an easy thing that you can do when you're at home and you have maybe cans of vegetables or water bottles, or if you have weights, that's great, but again, doesn't need to be. Just something that's equally weighted. So what I want you to do is make fists like you're holding weights. Hold them at your side, kind of at shoulder height, with your palms facing forward, and then just raise both arms up and over your head, keeping your elbows slightly bent, and then slowly lower your arms. Kind of pull them up and down, just a little press. And then we'll do that 5 more times. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Perfect. Okay. I'm really glad we have the music because it's helping me out. Okay. Now everybody up on their feet again. And find a chair that you can balance on. So either your own chair, maybe get behind your chair, but I want you to be behind it. Okay, and hold on for balance. Okay, and what I want you to do is slowly lift one leg straight back without bending your knee or pointing your toes. Try not to lean forward, and it's going to be working your glutes, and everybody can appreciate that, you know? Okay, and the leg you're standing on should be slightly bent, just a little bit. Okay, and then slowly lower your leg, and we're going to do that 5 more times, okay? Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Fantastic. Okay, now let's do the other leg. Ready? Okay, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5, 5. Great. Okay. So now, while you're standing there, I want you to hold on for balance, and I want you to step up on your tippy toes. And then lower yourself slowly down, and then up again. And we're going to do that 5 more times, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Fantastic. Okay. All right. And then I'm going to have you sit back down again. We're going to stretch it out. While you're sitting down, I want you to point your toe out. We're just going to do a nice, gentle ankle stretch. There you go. Okay. With your heels on the floor, bend your ankles to point your toe toward you. And then hold that for about 10 seconds or so. Okay, now point your toe way out. Let's do that like 1 more time. Point it toward you, and then point it away from you. Great. And then let's do it on the other side. Point your toes toward you, and then point it away. And then we'll do it 3 more times. And 1 more time. Okay. Now, the next thing I'd like to do, our last thing, is just take a nice twist in your chair. Nice spine twist. And kind of hold it. So, as you're sitting, just like this, to one side. And let's hold it for a few seconds. And then let's go back to the front. And then twist to the other side and hold it for a few seconds. Okay, fantastic. Thank you for putting up with me. I've never conducted a workout class before, but you guys were fantastic. Dr. Reeves, sorry. We could keep the music going. It's probably a lot more fun than anything I have to say. Okay, so I want to start this off by asking all of you, for those of you who do exercise regularly, why do you exercise? And for those of you who don't, why do you want to start exercising?
Yeah. Your cardiovascular system.
Fantastic. So kind of keep your heart healthy. Is that right? Yeah.
I've had a couple heart attacks and got to keep it going.
Okay. Absolutely.
I survived 2, so
yeah.
Maybe I can survive the next one.
God bless. All right.
To work your lungs.
Work your lungs too. Yeah.
I have a bad back and it helps the back.
Absolutely. To kind of help with pain, help with chronic medical conditions. Yeah.
Well, I have arthritis, and it helps me first thing in the morning. And it always helps to do stretching and other exercises on rainy days.
Yes, absolutely. So keep yourself moving.
That's right.
Kind of oil up your joints a little bit, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Strength and flexibility.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anything else? Any other reasons? Yeah.
Fights depression.
Absolutely. That's a big one, and I think one people don't appreciate enough. Yeah. keeps you happy. Okay, so here are some of the reasons I thought of. So to be healthy, to maintain or get to a healthy weight, which I'll talk a little bit about, is a little less important as we get older. Having a couple extra pounds on you actually kind of helps protect you as you get over 65. I wish that applied to people under 65, but it doesn't. To look good, right? We all want to look as well as and as healthy as we can. To relieve stress, to manage some of our chronic illnesses, extend your life potentially, enhance your quality of life, get more energy, avoid health problems that you don't already have, and sleep better. That's another big one. A lot of older people that I see are pretty sedentary during the day and then talk to me about how they can't sleep at night. And often I kind of recommend that they get up and move more often during the day. So what are some other things that kind of apply specifically to older adults? So one thing that we know as you get older, your muscles and your muscles tend to get weaker and tend to get smaller. Unfortunately, that's something we can't really avoid. But we can slow down that process by exercising and keeping our muscles strong. The other thing, it keeps us independent for longer. I think most people kind of like having their own independence and being able to do things on their own, and this is one important way that you can do it. It helps prevent falls, which certainly can set a lot of people back in their lives if you've ever experienced a fall yourself or know someone who has. It helps to prevent dementia, which we talked about last month, and that is so important. And it's about the only thing we have that we really know of that can really help kind of prevent the memory loss that comes with dementia. It helps to boost your self-esteem and sort of your general sense of well-being. So again, kind of what we were talking about before, it makes you feel happier and staves off depression. In particular, if you have any of these chronic diseases, so things like arthritis, like we were talking about, it can reduce the pain and stiffness you feel with that and increase your strength and flexibility, particularly for those days that you feel the joint aches worse or more. For diabetes, it helps keep your sugar levels in your blood at a stable level, which is good kind of to keep yourself healthy with diabetes. Osteoporosis, it helps especially strengthening exercises help to build your bones and make them stronger. And it also reduces your risk for falling and helps improve balance. For heart disease, high cholesterol, and high blood pressure, it reduces your cardiovascular risk by improving cholesterol and overall fitness. For obesity, it improves your metabolism and helps you lose weight more easily if that's one of your goals. For back pain, strengthening particularly the muscles of your core that you hear so much about, your abdominals and the muscles in your back, can help reduce the stress on your spine, and that itself can lead to less back pain. And then again, for anyone who's ever experienced depression and anxiety, it can improve your mood and help you sleep better. So what's physical activity? Physical activity is any movement of your body that uses energy. So anything like walking the dog, running errands, cleaning up around the house, gardening, all of those things are important to keep yourself active during the day. But kind of for the best health benefits, we want to think about two categories of exercise. Aerobic health, so that is any activity that makes your breathing harder and makes your heartbeat faster. And then strength training. And that is any activity that makes your muscles stronger. And this in particular is really important as we get older. So aerobic activity, can anybody name some examples of kind of what aerobic activity is? Yeah. Walking, absolutely. One of the best. Swimming, fantastic. Another really good one. Other things? Playing basketball, for sure. Tennis, running. What's that? Gardening, yeah. Strength training, anybody name kind of some of the things that they enjoy the most? Working out, yeah. So like going to the gym and lifting weights if you have access to that. But it doesn't need to be that. You can certainly use things around the house as well. Yeah, other things? Yeah.
Where I swim, we have these water weights.
Fantastic.
So they're weights, and
Yeah.
when they're wet, they get a little heavy.
Uh-huh.
And then you push them and do things with them.
That's fantastic. That's one of the best ways to, you kind of get both at the same time, aerobic and strengthening exercises, yeah. Other things, yeah.
Yoga?
Yoga, absolutely. Yoga hits a couple of boxes as well. Depending on whether or not you do kind of active yoga.
Voting would be good.
What is it?
Voting.
Boating, absolutely. If somebody knows how I could get access to that, yeah, let me know. Maybe a yacht, that'd be nice, yeah. I don't know if lifting a champagne glass counts as exercise, but I'll take it. Also, other things that I think we don't think of as strengthening exercises and tend to be some of the best that we can use are like when we did that wall push-up, using your own body weight as sort of resistance to help build your muscles. So doing things like that, doing things like planks, doing kind of lift ups in your chair to kind of work out the muscles of your the tricep muscles and muscles of your arms. So how much aerobic activity do you need? Well, we've actually done quite a few studies on this, and we came to some consensus that will probably change in the next few years. But for right now, what we know is that you need about 150 minutes a week of moderate intensity activity. So when I say moderate activity or moderate intensity activity, what I'm talking about is any activity that you can easily talk through, but you can't sing your favorite song along to because you're having trouble breathing because you're working out. Good trouble breathing. So what that works out to be is about 30 minutes a day for 5 days a week, or about 20 minutes plus a few, 7 days a week. How many of you would you say get that much? Fantastic. Great. It's hard to get there. So kudos to you for doing it. And I think, yeah.
When the doctor tells you you need to do it,
You better do it. Yeah. I like you. Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of people have a hard time kind of getting to that. So any activity that you can find that you can tolerate for that long, absolutely. Yeah.
Question to ask you.
Yeah.
If the walking is not brisk, but it's far, long distance walking, like about an hour to hour and a half, will that work just as good as the work?
Yeah. So again, it'd be if you can talk through while you're walking, but maybe you can't sing, or that's perfect. That counts. Low intensity activity is anything that kind of takes that you can easily talk through. That you need more time, but you don't get as much cardiovascular benefit from. So even if you keep up your pace a little bit more, that's fantastic. Yeah.
Two things: riding a bicycle, exercise bike, and walking
Absolutely.
upstairs
Yep.
instead of the elevator.
Exactly. That's a great one. Yeah. Yeah.
I do about as much exercise as it says.
Great.
Around my way, the streets are kind of hilly.
Yeah.
So, I can do a lot just by walking. But I've had a hard time lately because I have veneers. So I've just been having a tough time with balance.
Yeah. Right.
And
Right.
I think partly related to the weather besides my condition.
Yeah. And one thing I tell a lot of older adults when they're trying to figure out how to be more active, particularly when they have issues of vertigo or joint pain or kind of imbalance issues, is water aerobics can be a great option because you don't need to worry about falling. If you fall into the water. And
One day I mentioned yoga. Well, Tai Chi helps me.
absolutely.
So whatever helps any of us.
Exactly. Tai Chi is another one I really try to promote, and I know a lot of kind of senior centers are now incorporating into their activities. Yeah. Okay. So what about strength training? So the CDC and all the powers that be recommend that you get at least 2 days of exercises that work all 7 major muscle groups. Like she was saying, yoga is a good one to kind of hit all the birds at one stone. Same with kind of with any of that, like wall push-ups or anything that uses your body's resistance. So the 7 groups of muscles that you're looking to work out, at least somewhat, are legs, hips, your back, your abdomen, your chest, shoulders, and arms, okay? So a lot of exercises, particularly some of the ones that we did earlier, work out more than one muscle group. So you don't have to think about doing 7 different kinds of things. Questions about that? Okay. So what's the best activity for you? It's one that you're going to do. Which, you know, I think one thing to go into is for a lot of people, working out is not something that comes naturally. I know I kind of have to force myself to go to the gym. But a lot of people, it takes trial and error before you find something that really works well for you. So if you like biking, by all means bike. If you enjoy walking, walk. If you like going to the gym, go to the gym. If you like going to a kind of a group exercise and that's going to be the thing that kind of commits you to working out more often, do that, okay? Anybody have any comments? Questions? Yeah.
Yeah, I used to bike a lot, and I, at one point found I had trouble with my balance.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't realize I was having a problem with my eye.
Yeah.
And when I had it checked out, they weren't sure exactly what it was, and I still have the problem, which throws me off. So I had to give up biking. So you have to really constantly analyze what's happening with your body, with what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Especially with any type of exercise. I mean, if you go out there and you find soreness or whatever, it's a
Absolutely.
red flag. You got to
Right.
pay attention to it. 'Cause
Right.
I started falling afterwards too. I had trouble taking steps, walking up a curb, and it was all caused because of the sign.
Yeah.
Used to be a different image than my other eye. And I
Yeah.
didn't realize it at first. It happened so gradually. I didn't realize it was happening. So
Oh.
it's one thing we have to do is, pay attention. There are little signs that come up, and when they come up, check them out.
Yep.
And you
Absolutely.
can readjust your living style and your exercise style to what you do. I had to give up biking, which I loved doing.
You can do spinning though and you won't fall over.
I don't know about that. But I lived there at Alley Forge Park, and I used to bike over there. And
Yeah.
I used to do 15 miles of biking
Wow.
and enjoyed it thoroughly.
Uh-huh.
Had to give it up.
Yeah.
So,
It's a shame. Yeah. And I think part of this is sort of as we get older, as our bodies change, we have to kind of readjust things because maybe the activities that we enjoyed doing as a younger person aren't quite accessible to us anymore. One thing I did want to touch on is how do you know that you're healthy enough to do a particular exercise? First of all, I want to kind of dispel the myth that people are too sick for exercise. Even people who are at the end of their lives can get benefit from exercise. It's a matter of finding what you're able to do and what's safe for you to do. So having chronic conditions as well, having heart disease, having osteoporosis, having osteoarthritis, all of those things don't mean you can't be active. In fact, we find more benefits sometimes in those groups of people than we do with otherwise healthy people. Most people with chronic illness are in fact able to do moderate intensity activity. So what I would consider moderate intensity activity, I know Michael Phelps would not. So you kind of have to judge it to kind of what fits you the best. Any activity type and the type of activity you do and how long you do it for can all be modified within kind of your own abilities. If you have any questions, as the gentleman in the back said, talk to your doctor. We all want you to work out more often and be more active. So I would imagine it'd be pretty hard pressed to find a doctor who won't help support you doing exercise more often. When should you talk to your doctor before you exercise? Anytime you're not sure whether or not you can do a certain activity, so if you have balance issues, asking them whether or not they think riding a bike would be appropriate for you, or walking long distances without support, or running, things like that. Anytime you're recovering from an injury or from an illness, talk to them about how best to get back into exercise. Often people try going back out to what they were doing before they got sick or before they got injured, and can often injure themselves by doing that. So when you get back into exercise, do it slowly and progressively. Certainly, if you have any pain, if you have any dizziness, feel like you're gonna pass out, palpitations, any chest pain, or any excessive trouble breathing. Like I was saying, you're gonna have a little more trouble breathing than you do kind of normally at rest, but you don't want it so much that you can't catch your breath. Any questions about that? Yeah.
Yeah, I was told not to believe, they usually say no pain, no pain, no gain.
Yep.
That's really wrong.
Absolutely.
Pain is telling you that something's wrong.
Right.
Exercise should not be, you know, I look at people who are like really jogging, look like they're not happy, and it should be.
Right?
I always think that it should be.
Yeah, it's not going to be the same as like sitting on the couch eating bonbons. It's going to be a little more uncomfortable than that, but absolutely, we shouldn't be feeling sharp pains.
It's kind of a signal that maybe you're not doing it the right way.
Exactly. And especially as we get older, like we really need to start listening to our bodies if we haven't started that habit earlier. Absolutely. So what are a couple of things that older adults should particularly pay attention to as they start exercising? One thing is doing a variety of activities. So doing something repetitive, like running on the treadmill every other day, or lifting weights in one particular way with one particular muscle groups, can increase your risk of injury, because those muscles that you use for that particular exercise eventually get tired and don't do those jobs as well, and you put yourself at risk for injury. Having said that, if you find an activity you really like, stick to it with kind of, changing things up every couple of times. Even if you have trouble, again, walking or climbing stairs, you still can do regular physical activity. If you're not sure where to start, one thing I often do is refer people to physical therapy. Physical therapists are your friends. They can help you develop kind of an exercise plan with you that kind of meets your needs and something you're able to do healthfully. And again, if you get injured, if you become sick, ease into exercising again, very slowly and kind of at a lower level than you were used to before you got sick or injured. Questions about that? Okay. One thing that's really important for older adults, particularly those who are afraid of falling, are at risk of falling, or have fallen, is working on balance. The CDC recommends that if you do have those issues, about 3 days of the week, you should be doing exercises like Tai Chi, as someone noticed, or as someone mentioned. Things like backward walking, sideways walking, heel to toe walking, kind of like this, or practice standing from a seated position, which is a big one, kind of without using your arms, just going up and down on the chair. Another thing is gentle yoga can be really helpful at that. There are a bunch of handouts that we brought along that have some particular balance exercises that you can do as well. Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out there. And And again, if you feel unstable, make sure you have somebody sort of spotting you when you first do these exercises, because I certainly don't want your balance exercises to be the thing that makes you fall. Okay. So how do you start? If you're not an active person, kind of like you start any new habit. So determine your reason for wanting to be more active. Is it because you want to look better in that pair of jeans, or because you want to keep your heart healthy? If you want to, diabetes runs in your family and you want to make sure you don't get diabetes, or you have diabetes and you want to keep your sugar at healthy levels. Think about that reason for yourself and write it down. Then make a plan. Plan out where you're going to exercise, when you're going to exercise, with whom, if you like working out with people. It shows that generally people who work out with others tend to stick to it a little better because you have that accountability. Then gather whatever supplies you need. And this doesn't mean you need to like max out your credit card at Exporting Goods. But certainly, find clothes that you can, that you wear, find, like I was talking, the soup cans, the water bottles, things like that can be helpful around the house. And then make a plan for what happens when you hear that excuse monster in your head kind of start talking to you, saying that it's raining out so you can't go out for your walk, or you have somebody's birthday party to go to and you can't go out, or you just don't feel good today and you can't go out. Think about how you're going to respond to that excuse monster. Yes. And then one thing I encourage you to do with any kind of habit you're trying to change, set short-term, measurable, and reachable goals. So instead of saying, I want to be able to run a marathon, say instead, I want to be able to walk 3 blocks without getting short of breath. And then set a time frame for yourself and say, I want to be able to do this within 3 weeks or something like that. And again, it's going to be individual for each person's level of fitness and their own goals. Maybe it's you want to be able to dance at your niece's wedding or something, something like that. Make it personal to you. And then execute the plan. Actually do it. And then step back to take a chance to reevaluate. See how you're doing. Did you meet the goals? If not, why not? Should you adjust the goals? If so, how? What can make you be more successful at getting to your goal? Any questions about that? Okay, we're going to move into nutrition. Anything I didn't answer about exercise? Or comments or stories that others want to share? Okay, so I'm going to talk a bit about nutrition. So one of my favorite quotes is from Michael Pollan, who writes for the New York Times, and talks mostly kind of about how we should be healthier eaters. He has a quote that says, "Eat food, not too much, mostly plants," that I think generally sums up what healthy eating should be about. How many of you feel like you know what healthy foods are? Great. I think we generally all get it, for the most part. I think with a few things. But executing that plan is really kind of what gets difficult for people. Yeah?
If you eat only vegetables, does your body get enough protein?
So no, you can't eat only vegetables and be healthy, unfortunately. If you eat mostly vegetables, you'll be very healthy. Yeah, but you certainly do need protein in your diet. Yeah. Okay. So a couple of pointers for you. I'm not going to belabor the food groups and everything like that. But first of all, try to eat real food. And this means things that your great-grandmother would look at and say, that's food, as opposed to, like, spicy Cheetos or birthday cake Oreos, which are delicious, by the way. Eat whole, unprocessed foods. These are the foods that are going to be the most nutritious, and foods that are going to give you the most bang for your buck, essentially. Don't eat things with tons of ingredients or things you can't pronounce, okay? Things that come in boxes tend to come with lots of sodium in them and added preservatives. And often you can't use all, and often are pretty nutrient poor, as opposed to things like fish, like vegetables, fruit, things like that. One other good tip is to shop the perimeter of the grocery store. Grocers tend to keep food that's going to spoil around the perimeter of the store. You want to buy foods that are going to spoil. I think one of the things that sticks in my mind is once people put out a Big Mac on a counter and watched it over a series of months, and it took something ridiculous like 3 months for it to actually grow moldy, as opposed to a banana. If you have a banana out for a couple days, it starts to go bad. So that's a good thing. Your food should be going bad. Okay, so I'm going to show you how easy this is, okay? What's the better choice? This isn't a trick question. Apple pie. Right? What's the better choice nutritionally? The apple. Fantastic. Okay, how about this one? This is maybe a little bit tougher. Oh, there's a little bit of dispute. Yeah, we got a lean cuisine. It says it's made with vine ripened tomatoes. It's cheese ravioli. And on the left is a salmon with a salad and some brown rice.
Lean cuisine is tons of salt.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Salt and sugar.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll take the salmon with a side of ravioli.
I like that. So let's take a vote. Lean cuisine, how many people think that's the healthier choice? Okay, and how about the salmon? Fantastic, great. Sometimes eating healthier takes a little bit longer. Sometimes, making that food on the left is going to take a lot more than heating the food on the right up in the microwave for a couple minutes. But I would argue that our bodies, our health is worth it. So put that extra time in. And hopefully some of the handouts that we gave you in the back have some good recipes and shortcuts that you can take about how to eat better. How about this one? Brown rice, white rice. Fantastic. That message seemed to get across. That's good. So definitely brown rice. Try to choose brown grains or grains that are, yeah.
White rice is bad.
White rice isn't necessarily bad, but brown rice is healthier. It has more fiber and tends to be better for you. Yeah. So it doesn't mean you can never have white rice, but generally on a day-to-day basis, you should pick brown over white. Okay. So this is kind of newish in the last several years. I think Michelle Obama was pretty instrumental in starting this. This is sort of the replacement of, how many remember the food pyramids that we all grew up with? Yeah. This is essentially the same thing, but it's a little bit better for those of us that are visually inclined and like to see things. And it's a little bit more applicable to our daily lives, I think. So these are the same 5 food groups that we all learned about in health class back in the day. On the right-hand side of the plate up here are fruits and vegetables. Then we have grains and protein, and then finally dairy. So what this really needs to drive home is that half of your plate should be filled with vegetables or fruit. Think about what you ate last and ask yourself if that met that criteria. And think about what's reasonable for you to make that change. You think you can make the change to eating about a quarter of your plate fruits and vegetables? just adding things on. Maybe, you know, kind of make the goal to have it at every meal. And then about a quarter of your plate should be filled with whole grains. So things like brown rice, whole grain bread, whole wheat pasta, quinoa, barley, things like that. And then healthy protein should be the other quarter of your plate. So things like fish is a big one, lean chicken, turkey, anything like that, lean meat. Questions at all about that? Okay. All right. How many of you have looked at one of these in your life? Okay, good. So I'm not starting from nothing. So this is kind of the new look of the nutrition facts. You've all seen it look like this, with the calories really big, kind of shouting at you. So there are a couple of things. There's a lot of information in this label, and there are a few things that I want to make sure that when you pick up some new food that you take a look at. Okay, the first thing is the serving size, and this is the thing that tends to surprise everybody. So say you get a pint of Ben & Jerry's, and you go home and you're like, this is a pint of ice cream. This is one serving. In fact, it's 4. What about like the 20 ounce bottles of soda? How many servings do you think are in that? 2.5. Yeah. So just because it says what the serving size is doesn't mean that it's the entire container. It's the entire container that's one serving. So many times things that are packaged in a manner that makes you think that, you know, this whole bag of chips is one serving. In fact, take a look and see how many servings are in each container. And then the calories that are listed are only for that serving. So if there are 250 calories in that quarter cup of ice cream or half cup of ice cream, multiply that by 4 and that's how many are in a pint. And that's a lot. Anybody have any guess about how many calories you should be taking in a day?
2,000.
Yeah, generally. Maybe a little bit less. For women, it tends to be a little on the lower side. Sometimes 1,800, 16 to 1,800. Less than that if you're trying to lose weight. More than that if you're trying to put it on. For men, it's more like 18 to 2,000 calories. If you're an active person, more than that. But certainly it can vary. Questions about that? Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When a person is like overweight and they're trying to lose weight, and some people have, some people call it metabolism, where they can stay thin all the time. What's the difference? I mean, how do you know, like, if you're, well, if you know if you're overweight, you go to the doctor and the doctor tell you you're overweight. But how do a person?
We do that, huh?
How do a person actually who's overweight trying to lose weight, and they say they're exercising, they're eating this and they're doing that. For some reason, it's a syndrome with the gut or with the just something that's just not moving. So
Yeah.
what could it be? Could it be a medical issue? Could it be?
So I'll tell you, it is much harder to lose weight than it is to gain it in the first place. Our bodies were made to, back when we were all cave people dwelling in whatever, we didn't get food as often as we do now. And we were sort of made to keep pounds on and to keep us through till we got the next meal. Unfortunately, our metabolisms in our body haven't quite caught up with the fact that we aren't cave people anymore. And it makes losing weight incredibly difficult. And certainly people's metabolisms differ. And you know, your doctor can check you to see if anything's wrong with your thyroid, which can be an issue for people, or to see if something's wrong with your metabolism. Exercise is a big thing that can help people rev up their metabolism. You know, it comes down to sort of calories in, calories out to a certain point, but many people burn a lot more calories than other people. And it's just sort of the way it is. And there are a lot of things that kind of go into that. But sort of eating healthfully at any weight is better than not. And if for you or for anybody, if being 50 pounds thinner isn't realistic for you, even losing 5% of your body weight can be incredibly helpful to your overall health, and can reduce your risk for things like diabetes and high blood pressure. So any change is good. But we understand you are fighting an uphill battle. Many people are. Yeah.
I used to be a pretty healthy eater, but then I got lung cancer.
Ugh.
And when I went in for my checkups, they wanted me to keep my weight down.
Yep.
So I gave myself permission to indulge in all kinds of
I think that's okay. So this is a little bit what I was talking about, is we kind of flip the script a little bit when you get over 65. We certainly don't want you being in that obese category, but when you have a couple extra pounds on you, it tends to be protective against things like cancer or things like osteoporosis. And we see that people tend to actually live a bit longer when they have a couple extra pounds.
So maybe I can get back on track.
Yeah, well, I'm glad. Yeah, and congratulations for getting through that. That's great. So a couple of other things to point out on a nutrition label. Yeah.
Sometimes when I read labels on certain products like grains, sometimes it'll say calories, and then it'll say calories cooked.
Yeah.
And it'll tell you the difference.
Right, especially like rice, right?
Exactly.
A cup of rice can feed many people.
Right.
Dry rice,
Right.
yeah. Okay. So a couple other things just to point out. Saturated fat, is that good fat or bad fat? Bad, absolutely. So try to stay away from things that have a lot of saturated fat in them. On the right here, you can see the percent of daily value for each thing. So 5% of saturated fat in the day, this particular item, I don't know what it was, but is relatively healthy. You want to try to kind of keep your saturated fat down. What about sugar? Good, bad, indifferent? Great. What about carbohydrates? Good, bad?
In moderation.
So it depends. Exactly. It depends on what kind. So sugars, anything that says added sugars in particular, and the nice thing about this updated version of Nutrition Facts is that it shows added sugars in particular that don't exist in the food to begin with. Those are particularly bad. Carbohydrates also include things like dietary fiber that you need and are very healthy. So you don't want to completely get rid of carbohydrates altogether in your diet. And vegetables and fruit are a type of carbohydrate. So, and then finally, protein. What are some of the benefits of protein? Yeah.
Red blood cells.
Absolutely. Yeah. Other things?
Muscles.
Building your muscles,
Building your
sure.
muscle.
Right.
Energy building.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Your brain.
Yep. And carbohydrates and sugars can provide your body energy too, but they tend to do them pretty quickly. Protein, things that have a lot of protein in them, help keep your body full for a long period of time. So the more protein you have, particularly if you're trying to lose weight, the better, for the most part. Okay.
I just wanted to know real quick.
Yeah.
About the proteins. Do you recommend, because a lot of people say beef tends to stay in your body, for 4 or 5 days, versus chicken, it can process much faster in your system, gives you the energy that you need, and then you can it's like fuel. You can run off a chicken. That's funny.
Yeah.
But you can run off a chicken,
Yeah,
it
so
helps you.
the protein that's in beef and chicken essentially is the same, but the difference is that beef has a lot more of that saturated fat and has more fat content in it. So generally speaking, and again, it depends on what kind of beef you get, what how fatty the beef is, generally chicken tends to be a healthier choice because it's a leaner animal. Yeah.
And yeah, I guess trans fat is absolutely.
Yeah.
That's-
Trans fat is bad news bears. Yeah. And in fact, trans fat, the existence of trans fat to begin with tells you that the food was processed, because trans fat itself doesn't really exist in nature. It's something that needs to be made in a lab. So, yeah.
Did I read they just passed a law against trans fat?
I know that they're certainly trying to reduce the amount that are in foods. I don't know.
I
Yeah.
think one state did.
Yeah.
I think one state did.
That's great. I know they're certainly trying to reduce it as much as possible. And I know it's become sort of something that food companies are trying to stay away from because people have started to advocate for fewer trans fats in foods. Yeah. What about eating healthy on a budget? Any thoughts about that? So one thing, we were going back to that lean cuisine and the salmon and the brown rice and the salad. Anybody have some thoughts about that? The difference in cost? Yeah.
It's much cheaper to prepare your own food than to go to a restaurant.
Absolutely, absolutely. And restaurants, unfortunately, eating out tends to be filled with sodium and with added fats because restaurants are in the business of keeping themselves in business and keeping you coming back and having things that taste really good. Having said that, when you prepare things at home, you can certainly buy things that are available in the grocery store, take it home, cook it yourself, and get something that you could get at a restaurant for much cheaper, for sure. Unfortunately, when you look at somebody who maybe is working a couple of jobs, needs to get something quickly, has a couple bucks, going to McDonald's, getting one of those frozen dinners can be a really easy way to feed themselves. Having said that, think about the trade-off you're making. So if you are investing time in preparing your own meals, now that means that time you're not going to be spending with one of us and in the hospital. So kind of remember that when you reach for the Big Mac. Yeah.
You know, eggs were getting a bad rap for a long time because of the cholesterol.
Yep.
And yeah, they do have cholesterol, but now I think they're getting a better rap.
Absolutely. Eggs are, so I made a list of kind of my favorite foods, and eggs are definitely up there. Because eggs have low or high in protein. They do have some cholesterol, but certainly not to the levels that we used to advertise that they did. And we know that generally they tend not to be used as cholesterol in our bodies. So other things are potatoes. Potatoes are great sources of potassium. They're cheap as anything, and you can use them in many different ways. Having said that, don't fry them. French fries are delicious, but I'm not saying that they're healthy. But potatoes, particularly if you roast them or you boil them or eat them other ways, they're a healthy food filled with nutritional value. Beans, how many of you like beans and cook with beans? I love beans. And certainly when you buy them in bulk and they're dry, you can get tons of them for a couple dollars. You can feed yourself for months. It's easier to get the canned beans though, so if you're time crunched, those are a great option too, and also not particularly expensive. Because the dried beans you have to let soak overnight usually. Anything canned, so canned vegetables and fruits, frozen vegetables, all of those have equal and sometimes even better nutritional value than the fresh products that you can buy in the produce aisle. And they're cheaper. So they are some of your go-tos. Other things, bananas, another great option. They're cheap, they're available, they're easy to eat, they're full of nutritional value as well. Other things other people have that you want to share about tips for eating well on a budget. Yeah.
Farmers markets that are getting more, if you can
Absolutely.
find them we talked to at the Rittenhouse Square Farmers Market, we talked to people about making it more, especially for seniors.
Yep.
They have food vouchers and this kind of thing, and where you can go to the Red Terminal and other places and get directly from the farm and just kind of make friends with the different farms.
Yeah.
And let them know. And you know, so that I also found that the frozen food. For some reason, Indian food seemed to be a lot. Some of the best frozen food I had was like Indian food.
Huh.
So you learn about different spices and this kind of thing. And you go to an international market. And samosas, which I love, were like $1, and they had the best bargain. It was just so full of other stuff, and you get potatoes and whatever. And it was just really good bargains. So you just have to kind of look a little harder.
Yeah. It takes a little investigative work.
Yeah, and maybe Whole Foods will come down one day, but don't look for it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I wish it would. But that's
I know.
Yeah.
And we're blessed in Philly, right, with Reading Terminal.
Yeah.
I know that in particular, I think Gaia Dini Brothers is one big place that I like to shop. And in the back, they have those. By the way, I'm not getting paid by Iovini Brothers. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing the name correctly. But they have those dollar bags of produce that you can get. Anybody know what I'm talking about there? Yeah. You can get a whole big stuff. They're like the apples that are dinged a little bit and they didn't want to put on display. But there's nothing wrong with them. You can eat a bruised apple. You can eat a pepper that has a little nick in it. And it has similar nutritional value at the same. Other things to look for, when you go to the store, oftentimes they give you the option of buying the brand name or the store brand. Same thing, buy the store brand when you can. Other places, there are grocery stores like Aldi's that often have everything that's kind of at the store brand price to begin with. Cook in bulk, cook for the week. Oftentimes, people, especially people who are working or have a lot of things going on during the week and want to be able to pull things out quickly, kind of do meal prep on Sundays or meal prep on whenever their week begins. And that can be really helpful. The other thing to look for when you go to the grocery store, you'll see kind of two prices listed. The one on the left, that is the retail price. And I know it's blurry, but the smaller price there is the unit price. Be really looking for the unit price because that's going to give you how much each thing is per ounce. And that's how to compare one thing to another. So if you have a 30-ounce container of something and a 20-ounce container of something, and the 20-ounce container is cheaper, it may not actually be cheaper by ounce. So look out for that. Other things, other tips people have? Okay, we got some good ones. Yeah.
One thing that often works for me is to plan my meals.
Absolutely.
And you see what's on sale, and then I'll say, okay, I'm going to have this for the week.
Absolutely. Yeah. And eating seasonally too. When you're talking about produce, like it's August, so be looking for delicious tomatoes and eggplants and things that are in season.
I went to one workshop and they said, eat things that are a variety of colors. And
Absolutely.
That's why you seem to get things that are different.
Yep, exactly.
Nutritionally.
Yeah, look for things that are green and orange and purple and Okay, so you've decided you want to eat healthier. Again, this goes to kind of what we were talking about with the exercise. Think about when you're trying to get yourself in the groove of eating healthier. First of all, determine what your reason for eating healthier is. Then make a plan. So one thing I would really recommend is if it's unhealthy, keep it out of your house because you will have that moment of weakness at 3 a.m. when you're starving or we've all been there. And you want to make sure that you go for a healthy choice at that moment of weakness instead of reaching for Oreos or something. Plan out meals in advance.
I have a tip for the unhealthy foods.
Absolutely.
A lot of times I'll want a bag of potato chips. So what I do is I'll buy a 25-cent bag of potato chips instead of getting...
Absolutely. That's a great... Right. Absolutely. Because Because if you tell yourself you can't have something, never do you want it more than when you tell yourself you can't have it, right?
No, because in the course of a day, I will finish off that
Right.
diet, not in one sitting, but in the course of 24
Right.
hours.
Sure.
Finish it off.
Yeah. So just don't even bring it into your house. If you want a little bit, buy a little bit. Absolutely.
Well, and because, well, let me just ask, because of the snacks, is baked better than fried?
Absolutely.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's one alternative.
Yeah.
Baked-
In general.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's
For
not
sure.
cooked in all the fat.
Yeah, yeah. Although you have to be careful with some of the baked chips. Look, it has less saturated fat, but the calories may be similar. So you have to kind of look at the particular ingredient. And oftentimes to kind of replace the fat, they add things like sugar or extra sodium. So it's a balance. Yeah.
It's healthy to saute with olive oil and garlic, right?
Absolutely. That's one of the best ways. Yeah. And, picking things that are healthier oils. So things like olive oil and sunflower oil tend to be healthier than healthier than vegetable oil and things. Yeah.
I'm sorry, any thoughts on microwave? I hear conflicting things. Is too much microwave? Is there any kind of research that, I miss stir fry. I miss remember the wok when they had
Yeah.
the stir fry?
Uh-huh.
I need to get another one because I'm
Yeah.
thinking too much microwave. It's convenient.
So-
but is there any kind of thing?
There's really not. It depends on what you're microwaving. If you're microwaving vegetables, it's healthy. If you're microwaving, brown means it's not as healthy. But nothing about the microwaving itself is unhealthy. Yeah. Oftentimes I think that frying things or kind of sauteing things in a wok is a lot more tasty than making things in the microwave. But microwaving is nice because you don't have to add necessarily oils to things. Yeah. Okay. So when you make that plan out your meals in advance. Go grocery shopping with a list. How many people make a list when they go grocery shopping? Fantastic. Try to stick to it and try not to go to the grocery store hungry when you'll buy the sheet cakes on sale. And then make a plan about how to handle challenging situations. Is it that your brother asked you to come out for dinner once a month and that's the time when you really kind of break down? When your friends ask you to come out to happy hour, or you're feeling sad or lonely or anxious, and food feels good after a while. So kind of recognize those feelings, and instead of turning to your good friend, Mr. Cupcake, feel your feelings and feel kind of, what's making you sad and what else. Talking to a friend, listening to music you like, going for a walk can solve the way you're feeling instead. And then finally, again, do it and then reevaluate how you do it and whether there are things that you can improve on. So that is all I have. I really appreciate all of your attention. Questions or personal stories any of you have?
I was with my family for the past couple days,
Uh-huh.
non-stop eating.
I know personally, it's just,
Just kind of getting out
yeah.
there.
Yep.
And I'm not perfect.
None of us
They
are.
have food that I don't buy.
Yeah,
So
right,
what can you do?
right. And I think, we're all going to have moments like that.
I say don't see your family.
For some of us, that may be appropriate for a lot of reasons. Okay. Yeah.
Well, exercising, one of the simple things is not to do it alone. If you can find a partner with it.
Absolutely.
encourage you. Plus, it's a safety factor too. If something happens, you
Yep.
have somebody else to rely on. But if you can go with at least one other person, you don't feel like doing it, they're knocking on the door and say, it's time to go for a walk. So all
Right.
of a sudden you say, okay, I'll go for a walk.
It's easier to
It's
say
a
no
lot
to
easier.
yourself than
Right.
other people. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
What's your take on avocados?
I think avocados are great.
Yeah.
They have fat, so you can't eat like a ton of them,
You can.
but they're healthy fat,
Okay.
so they're good for you in moderation. Yeah,
Same with nuts, right?
absolutely. And they tend to be fill you up with healthy fat and keep you full for a long period of time. Yeah.
I read a horror story this morning on Twitter. It's in relation to that Monsanto glyphosate
Yeah.
judgment this week. The man won an insane amount of money. He got
Right.
cancer from it.
Yeah.
They've done and found trace elements of it in cereals,
Yeah.
store-bought cereals, especially children's cereals. It was in Quaker Oats. And the thing that really knocked me off the sofa this morning, because I love them, it's in Cheerios.
I know. I love Cheerios too.
I'm like, now I have to go sort of like, do I really want to buy these? It's scaring the hell out of me now.
What was the name of the chemical?
Glyphosate.
What is it?
Glyphosate. It's in Roundup, they're a weed killer.
Okay.
That's how it's getting onto the wheat and the barley and everything.
And
That
I-
man got cancer from it, they gave him an insane award,
Man.
but the doctor told him, you're not gonna live past 2020.
Oh,
So he's got all this money and not gonna live.
man. And I think, you know,
But now I can't eat Cheerios. I'm like,
I think you probably okay to eat Cheerios in moderation. I think, you know, you kind of have to balance the risk of things. And, you know, we put a lot of trust in sort of the organizations that help keep our food safe, and unfortunately they're stuck by humans and they make mistakes too, and that's tragic.
Cheerios.
I know. Ugh.
Easter bunny eggs.
I
Yeah.
was just going to say, if you find a great senior center, almost all, it's invaluable because you have people there, but they also do everything from yoga to meditation
Absolutely.
and exercise. And plus they, they serve a pretty healthy meal. So you can get that and be around people, but you can
Yeah.
also find, so I mean, working with ceramics and getting
Right.
comfortable. So if you find a great senior center, they offer so much.
I agree. I swear he's not a plant. You're saying all the right things today. So. But yeah, absolutely.
Can I put a plug in?
Please.
Okay,
Yeah, we'll
since
make
it
this
says
last.
senior center, I work at Southwest Senior Center. Now, granted, we're at 69th and Elmwood, which is close to the airport. We're not that close to, but we're very LGBT friendly. And in fact, August 25th, we're African American primarily, but we are pushing forward with a lot of LGBT. And this August 25th from noon to 4, we're having an event there. It's free. We'll have refreshments, so you're all welcome. There's flyers on the table.
That's great. Thank you.
That's good.
Thank you.
All right, so can we get a nice round of applause? Again, just wanted to thank you all for coming and spending a bit of your afternoon with us. Again, check out the resource at the back table before you take off. Get some fruits and vegetables, doctor's orders. If anyone needs token reimbursement, come see me up at the front. I'd also love to get the evaluations. Again, it's a two-sided form, so both for your demographics and your evaluations. I have some blank ones if you didn't get them on the way in. We always appreciate the feedback. And hope to see you at a future Dr. Zen program.